They should never have been found alive. When the harvesters stumbled upon two trembling figures huddled in the wolf pits that August day in 12th century Suffolk, England, they recoiled in horror. These weren't wolves. They weren't even entirely human, at least. Not any humans the villagers of Woolpit had ever seen. The children's skin was green. Not the pallor of sickness, not the tint of bruising, but a vivid, verdant green that seemed to emanate from within their flesh like spring leaves catching sunlight. The boy and girl, perhaps 8 and 10 years old, wore clothes woven from unfamiliar materials in colors that had no name. They cowered at the edge of the pit, speaking in a melodious language that twisted and turned through syllables no English ear could pass. Their eyes, wide with terror, reflected a world the villagers could not imagine. This was England during the reign of King Stephen. The anarchy, a time when civil war had fractured the kingdom and reality itself seemed negotiable. Yet, even in an age of miracles and monsters, of saints, relics, and demonic possessions, these children defied explanation. Sir Richard de Colon, the local landowner, took them into his manor house. What else could he do? Leave them to die in the pits that gave the village its name? The chroniclers would later record his decision as an act of Christian charity. But perhaps it was something else entirely. A recognition that these strange beings might hold answers to questions humanity hadn't yet learned to ask. The children refused all food. Bread, meat, cheese, milk, everything was pushed away with gestures of revulsion. For days they ate nothing, growing weaker as the household watched helplessly. Then someone brought beans from the garden, still in their pods. The children's faces transformed. They tore open the stalks, searching frantically for the beans inside, weeping when they found the pods empty. When finally given the beans themselves, they devoured them ravenously. Green children eating green food, it seemed the only logic in an illogical situation. Slowly, painfully, the children learned English. The boy, frailer than his sister, sickened within months of their arrival. He was baptized before he died, his green skin paling to grey, then white as porcelain as life drained from him. The girl survived, and as she did, the green faded from her skin like morning dew evaporating. She grew strong. She learned the language. She learned to eat meat and bread. And eventually, she told her story. "We came from St. Martin's Land," she said, her English still thick with the phantom accent of that vanished tongue. "A place where the sun never rises. Everything exists in perpetual twilight, neither day nor night, but something in between. A great river separates our land from a luminous country across the water, which we could see but never reach." The girl, now appearing fully human, now called Agnes after her baptism, described how she and her brother had been tending their father's cattle when they heard a tremendous sound, like bells ringing from inside the earth itself. Following the sound into a cavern, they walked through darkness that seemed to last forever. Then suddenly, they were blinded by light, real light, sunlight such as they had never imagined, and found themselves trapped in the wolf pits of Woolpit, unable to return to the twilight world they had left behind. The climax came not in her arrival, but in her departure from strangeness itself. Agnes married a man from King's Lynn, becoming fully absorbed into medieval English society. The green girl who had emerged from another world simply became ordinary. She lived, presumably bore children, paid taxes, attended church, and died without fanfare, leaving behind only the testimony recorded by two medieval chroniclers, Ralph of Coggeshall and William of Newburgh, who documented her tale within decades of the events. But here is where the story truly shatters our assumptions. We will never know what really happened in Woolpit. Was it anemia causing green skin through chlorosis? Were they Flemish orphans, speaking a foreign tongue, disoriented and malnourished? Were they suffering from a condition that genuinely tinted their skin? Or was this medieval England's way of processing something so strange that only the language of the miraculous could contain it? The moral cuts deeper than mere mystery. The people of Woolpit did not kill what they did not understand. In an age of superstition and fear, when the different was often deemed demonic, Sir Richard de Colan chose curiosity over fear. He chose to feed these strange children, to shelter them, to teach them, to let them become human on their own terms. The girl was not locked away as a curiosity or burned as a witch. She was allowed to transform, to integrate, to lose her strangeness and find her humanity. In every generation, green children appear among us. Refugees speaking strange languages, individuals whose skin or customs mark them as other. People whose experiences we cannot immediately understand. The wolf pits are still being dug, figuratively speaking, and trembling figures still huddle in them, terrified and unable to explain themselves in words we recognize. Will you be the harvesters who recoil? Or will you be Sir Richard de Colan, extending a hand to what you don't understand? Patient enough to let the green fade naturally, curious enough to hear the story of St. Martin's Land. The children of Woolpit teach us that strangeness is not permanence, that the other may simply be us, displaced, that the greatest act of humanity is offering beans to those who cannot yet stomach our bread, and waiting, with open hands, for understanding to bloom in its own time. The question is not whether green children exist. The question is what we do when we find them in our pits. If you want more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's support amazing and bizarre stories around the world.